Keep your prospect center stage.
A good way to lose a prospect's interest is by talking too much about your offering and failing to draw your prospect into the conversation. What you need is a dialogue interchanging between the two of you and not a rehearsed monologue for just yourself. Dialogue here, you appreciate, means two, while monologue is indicative of just one talking. Dialogue is what you want in this situation and never monologue. You're not primarily educating during recruitment, so set education aside. Engage your prospects with simple questions about their favorite topic, them. The proper place for presentation materials is during delivery of your presentation, which comes after the prospect's pain points and motivations have been identified. And even then, the materials should only be those which relate your offer to the prospect and demonstrate how CARES solves specific needs and wants of your prospect. Save the features and benefits for later. You're primarily seeking to find out what this prospect needs and if they're a person you want on your team. You can teach them later or let CARES interfacing with clients teach the new agent for you. Right now, you're recruiting. That means your goal is to find out why the prospect would be a good agent for you. Uncovering that information requires a well-designed, crafted-on-the-fly dialogue, not a monologue, a conversational exchange between the two of you. Your need is to ask questions that will elicit the prospect's interests, concerns, and expectations. During your initial interactions with the prospect, put your educating responsibilities to the side. Keep your specific CARES knowledge to yourself for now. Instead, start with questions that will reveal the prospect's mindset about the fit of CARES in their life and the suitability of this prospect as an agent on your team. Once the prospect answers your initial questions and reveals his concerns or interests, you can ask additional questions about their significance. The more questions you ask, the more the prospect talks, and the more you learn about the potential of the situation involving your business and this prospect.
Enabling prospect self-discoveries.
Perhaps you've issued calls to action that went unresponded and didn't produce any action. For example, a need for a given person to get in here and pick up their room, do dishes, or similar. Without the proper motivation, people seldom respond on the basis of say-so of another individual. A better, more thoughtful and creative approach must be used in certain circumstances. This is true of your prospects, as they are certainly in no position or need to do anything based on nothing more than your recommendation. Yes, CARES is a great program, and those that know it, know it. Your most eloquent statements of features and benefits will not convince your prospect they need to become CARES agents. No, you must help them discover their need to become an agent by virtue of they themselves recognizing CARES positive response to their pain and most critical personal motivations. Only then do you get to sign them up. It's similar to when your mother may have told you to eat your vegetables. The more she pressed you to eat them, the more you may have resisted. Even when she diligently explained to you the benefits of eating vegetables, such as helping you to grow big and strong. She may even have added good moral reasons for doing so, such as your obligation to remember the many children around the world who didn't have fresh vegetables to eat. She pressed, you resisted. It became a predictable routine, always resulting in some sort of standoff with someone begrudgingly winning and someone else begrudgingly losing. At some psychological level, due in part to those kinds of early childhood experiences, people generally don't like to be told what to do or how to act. As a rule, prospects are programmed to resist reps who try directly or indirectly to tell them what to do. Regardless of how convinced you may be about what could benefit the prospect, regardless of how many features and benefits you can cite, regardless of how convincingly and enthusiastically you explain the benefits and advantages of your offer, regardless of all this, prospects will have a tendency to resist when you tell them to eat their vegetables. They simply aren't going to seek to improve their situation based on only your say-so, which would be, in this case, nothing more than a non-motivational statement of cash card features and benefits. Rather than just blanketing features and benefit statements, a better strategy is to ask questions or relate third-party stories that allow a prospect to discover cash card features and benefits for themselves. When you ask appropriate questions which lead to discovery, the prospect then owns the discovery. People may push back directly or indirectly if you tell them to eat their vegetables, but if you let them reach their own conclusions, there's nothing for them to argue about. Human nature simply will not allow them to take issue with their own data and self-deduced conclusions. If your prospect identifies benefits, follow up with vision questions that expand their discovery, like, what would that mean for you? What would that allow you to do? What might that mean to you? How do you see that fitting into your present and into your future? Each answer, each additional discovery helps build a case for a prospect you want signing on as an agent. The case for eating their vegetables now comes to be built by the prospect and not you.
Problems versus symptoms.
Be skeptical of any prospect's self-diagnosis. Is what the prospect told you really the problem, or is it just a symptom? Consciously or subconsciously, your prospect has learned over the years to protect vulnerabilities by not revealing real problems up front. Showing you the true pain could put the prospect in an unwanted high-risk situation. This may, from our point of view, seem illogical. Why, after all, would the prospect want to waste our time or his? Well, there's a certain special dynamic at play during early discussions with any prospect, which involves conveyance to the inquiring rep responses that can be a few degrees off from genuine fact and actual underlying cause. The next time you're tempted to accept a prospect's assessment of a problem, don't. Relying on prospects in this way is a bad idea. When we do this, we may buy into the prospect's perceptions about their problems, which rarely touch on the real causes and are often, for lack of a more subtle definition, actually somewhat delusional. In addition, we may find ourselves accepting the prospect's focus on apparent solutions to improperly diagnosed problems, solutions that will be, at best, premature and at worst, entirely inappropriate to why we're meeting with them.
Diagnosis, the presenter's responsibility.
As professional presenters, we must have comprehensive knowledge, not only about our offering, but also of the current and potential problems and challenges of the prospects with whom we meet. It well serves us to be able to know how to diagnose prospects' perceived problems by looking beyond the symptoms and identifying the underlying causes, the real problems to be addressed. If we don't bring that knowledge with us to an appointment, it's unlikely that we'll find it when we shake hands with the prospect. The bottom line here is this: you must be knowledgeable enough about your offering to recognize the real underlying problem when prospects relate to you the symptoms of those problems and how your offering best addresses those problems. The symptom is never the problem.
Handling future speak.
Should you reach a point in your dialogue with the prospect where they first expect a commitment from you prior to them making their requisite financial move, you need to bring them back to reality. For example,
I think I'm ready to sign on and get going as a cash card agent now. Could you show me your training program?
That's good to hear, Chip. Cash Card's training materials are, as I'm sure you can appreciate, proprietary and as such are released only to vested agents. So I understand then that you're ready to sign on?
As a recruiting lead agent, you've already made plenty enough professional commitments in your preparation, efforts, and dialogue to get the prospect to the point of signing on with keen and positive anticipation. Such keen and positive anticipation must understandably have the finishing touches applied by virtue of the prospect's financial expression of upfront agent fees mandated by NABCA. Other than opting for the down payment rather than paying everything up front, there is no workaround for this. Whether or not they're aware of it, part of what your prospect is doing in starting to talk to you about the future is bypassing a necessary step of the present. So in order to reset the situation, the best way to get the prospect to talk about the future is to bring dialogue back and upcoming events back to the here and now.
Helping your prospects maintain their self-esteem.
As you take prospects through your dialogue and presentation, you are dealing with people experiencing varying degrees of fear, anywhere from none to a fear of sign-on commitment. First, they know they have a problem, which itself is discomforting. Second, they know they may have to invest not incidental time and money to fix it, which adds another level of anxiety. Third, they may not be expert at or even fully capable of solving this problem. And finally, they risk their ego, their esteem in the eyes of their family and friends, and other intangibles if your proposed solution doesn't work for them. Most prospects need comfort, encouragement, and reassurance. Depending on the particular inadequacies or pain your prospect feels, one or more of these statements could bolster their self-esteem and make them feel good about putting a portion of their fate in your hands. What you're feeling is normal and rational. Your reaction makes perfect sense. Your concerns are typical of our prospective agents. If you weren't this worried or concerned, you just about wouldn't be normal. What do you need from me to make you comfortable with this? You didn't create the problems you face. They resulted from the economy. Frankly, most everyone is facing these very same things in one way or another. Well, if you weren't feeling uptight and insecure about your problem, some might question your normalcy. That's a really important question you ask. It makes sense and shows insight. I appreciate your honesty and candor.
A listening prospect is not entirely a prospect.
Presenting is about helping the prospect relate your offer to the satisfaction of his wants and needs. It's also about interactively helping him discover needs of which he was previously unaware. How is this accomplished? By asking thought-provoking questions and then listening, really listening past the point of being able to construct meaningful dialogue with the prospect as the two of you speak. Presenting interactively requires that you engage your prospect. You can educate and stimulate interest by means of a thought-provoking question much more effectively than you can by citing features and benefits. Unless the prospect gets entirely off on another subject or tangent, let them talk and try not to interrupt. Let the prospect finish. Then acknowledge understanding of what they just said, ask questions, or make comments. And be careful when thinking about what you're next going to say while the prospect is still speaking. Sometimes when we're thinking about what we're going to say next, it shows up in wandering eyes and drifting attention, both of which are undermining to your dialogue with the prospect and often easily perceivable by them. Your vast knowledge of your offer, used at the wrong time, can be disorienting, intimidating, or sleep-inducing to your prospect. So keep it in the drawer until the right time, because an uncomfortable prospect is unlikely to make the necessary emotional investment in your offerings. While you can easily wreck an appointment by talking too much, you'll seldom lose one by listening too much.
No mind reading or conclusion jumping.
While the dialogue of many of even the best prospects can begin to sound repetitive, never assume facts exist which are not evident. Your prospects are, after all, distinct individuals, and you'll want to treat them that way. While listening between the lines, try not to misread between those same lines. And always be ready to, and in fact frequently ask what the prospect means. Doing so provides not only the additional clarity sought, but gives the prospect better opportunity to express themselves and allows you time to gather what you need to continue crafting and directing the conversation. Try to never jump to conclusions. You can injure yourself. Seek instead to get facts. You need the prospect's reasons for deciding to become a cash card agent and not your own. You, at the right time, underscore cash cards positives as they relate to the prospect's reasons and focus on those positives.